Hello guys, welcome back to VC Tech. In today's video, we are going to be diving into one of the most essential and powerful tools on a network switch, access control list, also known as ACLs. ACLs help you control who gets into your network, what they can access, and what traffic should or shouldn't be allowed into the network. Whether you're securing your environment, filtering traffic, or enforcing strict security policies, ACL are a must-know tool for every network engineer. So sit tight, grab your notepad, because today we are going to be breaking down ACL in the simplest and most practical way possible. So with that being said, what is ACL? ACL are rules applied on a switch or a router to filter traffic. They control which packets are allowed or denied in a network, as it is used to enhance security and traffic management. Why ACL are important is it prevents unauthorized access to network resources. It also enforces security policies at layer 2 or layer 3 devices. It also reduces network risk by controlling traffic flows. The benefits of ACL includes it improves overall network security, as it increases network efficiency by filtering unwanted traffics. It also allows fine-grained control over user and device access. So with that being said, let's head over to our configuration phase, where we get to see how ACL is being configured on a switch. For this tutorial, we'll be using one router, 2 switches, and 4 host devices. And if you look closely, you're going to see we have 2 networks, 192.168.1.0 and also 192.168.2.0. Now, with that being said, let's head over to our switch and start our configuration, as we also have a guideline that we are going to be following for this tutorial. First, we will need to create our management IP, then set the host name as well as the domain name, and also generate ROSA keys and local user and so on. So with that being said, let's head over and start the configuration on a switch. So we want to say interface VLAN 1 because we want to make VLAN 1 the management IP on the switch. We want to say no short to bring it on. We want to set the IP address of interface VLAN 1, and it will be taking 192.168.1.2 IP address with a subnet mask of 255.255.0. Now let's also set the host name. The host name to be VC. We also want to set the IP domain name. IP domain name to be vc.com. We also want to enable password to be vc, trying to keep it easy so it doesn't get complicated. Username to be Victor, and the password should be vc. Now we've created the username and also the password. We've also assigned IP address to the management interface on the switch. Let's now create a crypto key to encrypt the communication from a remote device to our switch that might be in the office or at home, and we want to remotely access it from whatever location that we are. So how do we do that? We say crypto key generate ROSA, and for this it's going to be asking us how many bits do we want for this. Remember guys, the higher the number, the better the security. So we cannot use 512 because 512 is not as secured. However, we are going to be using 1024, as we also have 2048, which is very strong, but for this we'll be using 1024. And our encryption has been enabled. Now the next thing we are supposed to do is to go and enable or tell the switch how we are going to be using to access it. We want to be using SSH to remotely access the switch, and we can do that by saying line VTY 0 to 5 users. We want to use the login local to remotely access the switch. The login local are the username and host name that we created earlier. So login local, and we also want to tell the switch the means that we'll be using to remotely access it, which is SSH. Now we've configured how we can remotely access the switch using SSH. We've also configured the encryption that we are going to be using, and we've enabled the username and the password, and we've also enabled password for when we get into the switch. So this is our domain name, and we also have our host name above. So let's get into the main topic for today, which is configuring ACL on the switch. But before we do that, let's also tell the switch that we want to be using the latest version of SSH, which is SSH version 2, before we get into creating access control list. So we can do that by saying access list, and we want to specify, we want to let the switch know that we'll be using standard access control list, and we know that by using a lower number, because for standard access control list it uses from 1 to 99, while extended take from 100 and above. We'll be talking about that in the video to come, but for this tutorial we'll be using a standard access control list. So we'll say 192. We want to permit 192.168.2.5. Oh, sorry guys, so we have to specify permit here. So we have to say permit 192.168.2.5. Then we also want to deny 192.168.2.10. So from this network we want to permit one device, and we want to block the other device from remotely accessing the switch. Then we can say access list 1, and we want to deny any other service. We want to deny any other service that will try to access the network. So we've configured our access list. This is how we configure a standard access list. We've configured our access list on the switch, telling the switch that we only want 2.5 to access the network. However, if 2.10 try to access the network, it should deny that service. Now let's apply this configuration on the line VTY interface that we created. Now let's apply the ACL rule that we just created on the line VTY interface. So we do that by saying line VTY 0 to 5, and we want to say access class, and we specify the number from a standard access list that we created, which was 1. And we also want to say any traffic that is coming into that switch, the access list should analyze the packet that is coming in, whether it is permitted or denied. Now we've done that, let's also assign our default gateway. Let's tell our switch the default gateway of the network, which is IP default gateway 192.168.1.1. That is the default gateway of our network. Now let's do this, do show run to see our configuration that we just did. Here we can see our the latest version of SSH that we are going to be using, as well as we have our host name and enable password. We also have our domain name right here, and our username and password is right here. If we go down, we are going to see our access control list and our line VTY, as we have the interface VLAN 1, which is serving as the management IP on the switch. We also have our default gateway, and we have the access list that we just created, telling the switch that we only want one host, which is this host, to remotely access the network, whereby any other host from that network should be denied. Now let's try to ping our management IP from our host devices. Let's see if this, okay, this one has an IP of 1.5, so let's try to ping from this device. So 192.168.1.2. So we are able to ping the management IP on the switch. So let's also try to ping from this device on the other network. This device has 2.5. So let's try to ping from this device 192.168.1.2. We are also able to ping the management IP on the local area network of 1.0. Now let's try to remotely access the management IP on the switch. So we can do that by saying SSH-L, then we specify the username that we created. So the username that we created for this was Victor, so we specify the username Victor, and we also specify the IP address of the management IP, which is 1.2. So as you can see, guys, it's asking us for a password. Our password was VC. Oops, our password. What was our password? Username and password was VC, but not in capital letter. So VC, and guys, we've remotely accessed the switch from a remote device. VC. We are able to gain entrance to our switch from a remote device that is not on the network. Now let's try to access that. Let's also try to access the switch using a different IP address. Remember, we specified on the network, that on the ACL, that we want 2.5 to access the network, but we do not want 2.10 to access that network. So let's try 2.10, which is on this PC has 2.10. Let's try to remotely access the switch from 2.10 network. -L, so Victor, was on capital letter, then IP address, the management IP on the switch, which is 2.10. So as you can see, guys, we are not able to gain connection to the switch because we've told that switch that whenever 2.10 network try to access the switch, it should deny that traffic. That is the function of this command over here. We said access list 1, which is the standard access list, deny 192.168.2.10 whenever it tries to access the switch. However, if 2.5 tries to access that same switch, you should permit that traffic. So that is why we are able to gain connection with 2.5 network on a different network. This is 2.5, this is 2.0, this is 2.0 network, and this PC here is using 2.5, and this is using 2.10. This device can remotely access the management IP on 1.0 network, but this device over here cannot remotely access the management IP or cannot remotely access the switch on the 1.0 network. So guys, this is how we configure access lists on a switch to protect traffic that is coming in or going out from the network. It is used to deny or permit traffic into a network. If this video helped you understand how access list is being configured on a switch, if this video helped you understand how access control lists work, how the configuration is being done on the switch, how we can deny a particular host device on a network and also permit a particular host device also in a network from accessing a remote device, then why not give your boy a like and subscribe for more tech videos. Thank you guys, and see you in the next class.